Everybody, welcome to my little corner of the internet. I have to say thank you for being here. There's not many people here, but it's a start, right? I started this channel roughly about a year ago. I've uploaded a couple videos, and looking at my subscriber list right now, it's hovering somewhere around like 500, which is pretty good. I never asked for likes or subscriptions. I absolutely hate when people do that crap. So you'll never hear me say, oh, like and subscribe, just if you like some of my videos, cool, and if not, then go ahead and leave me some hate comments down at the bottom. Speaking of which, this is my little corner of the internet, and I have gotten a couple of negative comments, and I'd like to sit down with you today, and I'd like to read over some of those, because some of them just make me feel warm and fuzzy inside, and I love videos where people read the hate comments because they just crack me up, and so I figured I'd do it with mine. My last video I was talking about engine sounds, like piston slap versus rod knock, coming from two vehicles that I happen to have on my property at the time. One of them is my Cadillac that's behind me here. The other one has gone off to car heaven and is no longer with us. But apparently, at some point in the video, I made the mention that cars from the 70s and 60s and stuff like that weren't really designed to last, and apparently that struck a nerve with some people, which I'm not really sure why they give that much of a shit, because I'm just a clown, a nobody off the internet. And apparently me saying that caused a couple people to lash out at me. It's my personal opinion, a lot of the stuff back in the 70s just really wasn't that well built. Yes, I do have a 1975 Cadillac behind me. It's just hit 50 years old. But a lot of them, they had leaks from the factory. I could even show you the side of it. There's a piece of trim that hasn't lined up on it since the day that it left the factory, because I bought it from the original owner. It's just, they weren't really the highest of construction quality, and I know there's still a lot of them around, but there's a good portion of them that were in the junkyard within several years. They just, you weren't putting like 300,000 miles on a lot of them like you do with cars today. Some people even will come as far as saying like, oh, they don't build things like they did in the 60s, but you know what? I'm only 40 years old, but my dad, for example, he had a bunch of cars from the 60s, and he loves the cars from the 60s, like the Mustangs and stuff, but he'll be the first one to tell you that the build quality on them really wasn't that great. He had a Mustang that needed a valve job at 60,000 miles. There was parts of the body that weren't really finished properly. It's kind of just the way how things were back then, and yes, they're beloved for what they were, but they honestly just weren't designed as well as cars today, where 100,000 miles out of a car is no problem at all, or 200,000 miles. Pretty much everything can do that these days. But like I said, if you don't agree with me, then, by all means, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. It's kind of like some people liking enchiladas and others not. Like, if just because I think something different doesn't mean that it's necessarily fact. However, let's go over some of these comments, shall we? I'm not going to read what the name of the person is, because I don't agree with slandering people on the internet. I've had it happen to me just for my job that I do, from family members at that too, and we're not going to open that can of worms. But I am going to read everything else, and I'm going to give them whatever goofy voice I feel is necessary. So here's one right here. And this is kind of a run-on sentence, so I'm going to go as long as I can and read it exactly the way that it's typed. This says, the whole classic cars are only designed to go 100,000 miles / a couple years thing is such a BS statement. Classic American cars survived en masse for a reason. My daily driver of the last 15 years has been the same 68 Plymouth, and also I've got a 72 Cadillac, 73 Mustang, 67 Cougar, it's a lot of cars, 75 Valiant, 68 Dodge Corona, and an 84 Trans Am that are all still going strong on their original engines and drivetrains, and they are all such common cars I was able to get them cheaply in this day and age. This is not just some fluke, especially considering that there are almost zero classic foreign cars out there running on their original build. Okay, whoever you are, I have to envy you, because if you really have that many cars that are that old, you probably spend 99% of your time in the garage. I have a pretty large stable of vehicles myself, a couple of them being older. This is the only one I have that's from the 70s, and this one right here can keep me busy pretty much 24 hours a day if I wanted to just keep working on it. Also, something you have to consider, dude, if you have a bunch of old cars that are from back then that are still running fine, that's fine and dandy, but those are exceptions, not the rule. I can guarantee you that 90% of all of what you said you have is no longer on the roads and has been turned to scrap metal like decades ago. And the thing with the classic foreign cars not having their original drivetrains, well, I got news for you, buddy. There's not as many of them here because this is the United States. There's not going to be a lot of classic Toyotas because a lot of them were used up and thrown away before they were seen as future classics. You got some cars now like the 1960s Toyota Coronas and such that are kind of sought after, but back then, nobody really cared. It was just like driving a Corolla or like a Hyundai Santa Fe or something like that. Like maybe in the future, some of the cars they're making now will be classics, but it's just the way how it goes, dude. So, I mean, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Like I said, I'm just a nobody, a clown, but take it for what it's worth. This one right here is in all capitals, so I'm going to read it exactly the way that it's written. Wrong about 70s cars. No, I'm not actually going to read it like that, but I'll read what it says out loud. But apparently I really irritated this guy because he basically was doing the keyboard warrior thing when he was banging out with the capital lock on. So he goes, wrong about 70s cars. You're talking about 40s and 50s cars, and where the problem came from, they used to put so many... I should even say 30s only ran for as little as $50,000 miles or so because they had so many piston rings, and then they wore the bore out and just dumped a whole bunch of metal, and they didn't have the oil. So anyway, as good oil as they have now. That one was a mouthful. I understand you were probably upset when you were writing that, but it is what it is, dude. If you don't like me talking smack about 70s cars, even though I own one right here, then you go watch somebody else's channel, because this is just my opinion, okay? This one right here is my favorite because he goes as far as to actually insult me. He goes, I pissed myself laughing at your comment. You are saying vehicles in the 70s are not being made of quality. How much glue did you sniff? Wait, no. How much glue did you eat in school as a kid? I love my small block Chevy built well and is still around after 50 years. So tell me when quality went out the window. Well, I wouldn't say quality went out the window. I'd say it probably just improved with time. I'm happy that your small block Chevy built well is still running just fine, but you know what? I also appreciate the comment about you saying that I eat glue sticks. Because I was more of a rubber cement person because it made less of a mess. And I didn't really like the Elmer school glue, so I guess you could say that has stuff going for it. So, have a nice day. I'm going to dig a little bit into the bin because I don't have that many hate comments yet, but I'm sure I'll get more as time goes on. This is from my first video that I uploaded ages ago, of a keyboard that I had at the time playing a crazy ass MIDI that just is all over the place and the keys light up. I was kind of filming it, changing the angle of the way how I was, looking at everything just to kind of get a better view of it. But I got a comment a long time ago with somebody saying, "Stop moving all over the place!" and it's all capitalized. So, you know what, dude? I can move wherever I want. This is my channel. I do have to say, for the people that have left all the cool comments, I never expected my last video to get 42,000 views as of the time that I wrote this. I literally just sat down and talked about engine noises for a couple minutes, and I've gotten all sorts of thank yous and stuff like that just for making something like that. I really do appreciate the comments, and one of the things that I am really a personal fan of is reciprocation. If somebody sends a message to me, I will try my absolute best to get back to you. It's just something I like, interacting with people, and so I appreciate any sort of comment you leave on here, whether it be negative or not. But anyways, that's the first edition of reading the hate mail. Hopefully I'll be able to do some more of these in the future. I don't know if anybody's actually enjoying this or not. I just like to respond to comments like this, and I especially like the ones where people insult me. So if you want to go on there and tell me that my schnoz is huge, because it is, it made it really easy to get COVID tests, then please, by all means, leave a comment down there. Maybe I'll feature in the next one if you want to be it. See you then.